common components in which Filipino test takers pass and then fail?
So as I've asked, okay,
Yeah.
they find the listening part difficult.
Why?
It's because of the accent.
It's
They-
usually British
Yes, so
or
they're-
Australian.
So they're not really familiar with that.
Yes.
What
So
about the
that's one.
TOEFL?
But for the TOEFL, yes, it's US. So, but the problem there is the speaking part. It's, at some point they find it a bit, they're off guard when, you're talking to someone who's really speaking English really well.
But Katropan Jet, you have to again qualify the question because there are two examinations here that are completely
General and
different.
academic.
The TOEFL and
And
also the
IELTS.
IELTS. They have similar components. They test you on 4 macro skills, but the manner of how they're administered differs somehow. Even TOEFL, if I'm not mistaken, also has a grammar component.
Yes.
The IELTS does not have that one, but IELTS is really very strict as well.
Yes. And that leads to a strategy so that you could be able to cope. By the way, I'd like to know how many attempts could you ever do?
Well, for this one, you can do as many as you can, as long as, you won't take another one, I think, after 12 days. So on the 13th day, you can.
So you can take it
But
even
then
within
again-
half a month.
Yes.
This is now development because before you cannot take the IELTS within
After-
a 6-month period.
Oh,
Oh,
now
why?
it's
Why is it
It's
so?
also a
13.
6-month period because
12 days, rather.
the administrators of the examination wants you to review and improve. Now, after a couple of years, I think after a decade, they shortened it to 3 months.
Oh.
And
And
then
now,
now,
right now,
yes.
it's just about 2 weeks.
12,
Oh.
12
days.
days.
12 weeks. So if you have a really short attention span, you've got to learn how to wait.
It's quite expensive.
Oh, why? How
It's
much?
around 9 to 10,000. Before it's just 8. So now it's 9 to 10. So I think you won't really get it after 12 days.
Yes. Oh,
Which is the very reason why you really have to prepare. Otherwise,
exactly.
you will have to shell out again another. It's
Oh,
equivalent
no.
to about $200.
$200.
oh no. What are strategies that you can recommend for potential test takers so that they could pass TOEFL or IELTS
Okay, I
on
think
first attempt?
time management is very important. Okay, because there are different, let's say you will do it for, let's say, a couple of hours, but you'll be the one to manage your time. Okay, for example, once you're done with listening, you cannot go back anymore.
Yeah.
Hence, you have to, let's say, do some, if you don't want to attend a review center, okay, because maybe, it will cost you a lot, then if you would want to do it on your own, you have to put, let's say, a timer, okay, as to how long do you write, how long do you, let's say, listen to passages before you get the correct answer. Because, that's the only thing that I can suggest, time management and practice.
Now, there are some tips that I can recommend.
Sure.
For IELTS, listen to broadcasts in British and Australian
So that you can
English.
familiarize.
BBC, ABC.
Yes, so that you can become familiarized with their
Accent. That's another thing.
Next, when you take the examination for listening, make sure that you are not near the speaker. It depends upon
Exactly.
upon the hall and how it's.
Why is
how-
it so?
Because if you're going to be near the speaker, you will have aside from information overload, you will be having difficulty with the volume. So you
Oh.
cannot really concentrate well because if your ear is very near the speaker, you might just have a headache while taking the examination. So that's another thing. Now, for writing, for example, in the IELTS, you're going to be required to use pen and paper.
Oh.
So you have to have good penmanship. The suggestion also is either to use blue or black.
Or black.
Oh,
Blue or black.
or black.
Before, they would allow the use of pencil, but I think this time around, it's
Pen.
yeah. Pen.
And-
Why is it pen instead of pencil? In order to avoid erasures and.
No, actually you can erase. It's just that, I'm not really sure, but for others, if you use a pencil, you just tend to erase and erase because you can.
So that means you will develop the discipline of being definite with your answers.
And then another suggestion
Concrete.
for writing is that you write in cursive.
Oh.
Because there is this psychological effect on the person's,
Why?
on the checkers part.
I didn't know that.
It's smoother.
Oh.
So somehow there's a psychological effect on the checkers part.
Oh.
Now for speaking, you have to have canned answers. It's really highly suggested that you attend trainings, you attend coaching sessions. For your introduction, because usually you will be asked by the interviewer. And again, as we all the time say, first impressions last. So when they're going to be asking you, what's your name? You have to have already a canned answer for that one. And it should be smooth. And then usual common questions would be, where do you come from? Tell me something about your city. Tell me what are your favorite subjects, your favorite activities. You should already have canned answers for these questions. Now, when you go to the short term, in the short term, you're going to be asked some short questions, and you're supposed to be providing answers. So again, you just have to listen to the person, and you have to. There are common themes. What are your hobbies?
What's the weather today?
What was your academic background? What can you say about your city? Tell me something about your family. What tourist spots can we see in your city? So these are some common questions.
Oh, so to neutralize whatever disparity there is, and I'd like to know if they count the ums, the uhs, other fillers and mistakes.
Well, of course, it would matter. But then again, it's the context of whatever it is that you're saying and the content.
Jet, this is one of the things that I can tell you, having been a coach for years already, more than a
Fluency
decade.
is important.
Aside from fluency, they would say that it's better for a Filipino to have an interviewer who is a foreign, who is a native speaker, compared to a Filipino interviewer. This is the rumor.
What is it?
I cannot really say I cannot really say that this is true for everyone, but it seems as if Filipinos are more unforgiving.
I agree.
So they're too punctilious when it comes to mistakes.
Yes,
they're particular.
The Filipinos are more concerned. Concerned with small mistakes, like the fillers, as you say. The foreigners, the native speakers, however, are more forgiving.
I agree.
However, there is also a QA,
quality assurance
for these, and that's also the very reason why when you're going to be having the speaking test, they also record it, because another person will also validate whether or not the score that you're giving is appropriate. So there's also that quality assurance.
So it's to ensure validity and reliability of scoring. And what about first unsuccessful test takers, so that they could have hope? What are some tips so that they can bounce back apart from reviewing again without having to break the bank?
Okay, well, first and foremost, they have to believe that they will pass the next time. Because again, if you're not really sure that, okay, I want to take it just because, okay, but I'm not really sure if I would pass, then that would be a problem. Because again, you have to be confident. Because if not, if you are not really focused on what you're doing, then definitely you won't be able to manage your time. Another thing, if you're already talking to the speaker, okay, the speaker would actually feel if you're nervous or not. So most probably it will affect your score as well.
Yes, and last, how can TOEFL and IELTS help Filipinos in developing their communicative competence and confidence even after the testing?
Okay. Well, basically, this is an English proficiency test. So most probably, it wouldn't really, for me, okay, based on my own opinion, it wouldn't really affect much of the communicative, skill of the person right after. But then again, it will bring you confidence, because this is something that is difficult to pass. Okay, and knowing that, or from that point of view, then once the Filipino teacher, okay, let's say, or any Filipino pass this test, then he or she would have that validity inside of her or him that, okay, I know how to speak in English. So most probably, hello, we know that English is in demand right now. Okay, it's the lingua franca. Hence, okay, if let's say you were able to pass this, then, the person would be confident enough to speak the language.
Yes.
Jet, I highly suggest that test takers should take review classes. It really helps a lot. It really helps a lot, because when the test taker is going to be taking the exam and has received prior coaching, the person already knows what types
To
of
what to
examination.
expect.
And even know the loopholes.
Yes, the types of tests that's going to be
Yes.
taken, that's going to be given.
Yes.
And so that gives a certain degree of confidence, because if a test taker does not have any background at all on how the examination is going to be conducted, the person might just panic.
Yes.
Now,
I agree.
secondly, you have to remember that you are going to be shelling out at least $200.
You really
That's
have to save
equivalent
up.
to at least 8,500,
Yeah, to 10,000.
900, and so on. Now, aside from that one, even though you can ask your paper or your examination to be
Yeah.
rechecked, the rechecking process takes a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So it really doesn't count. It's as if it's going to be, you're going to be wasting time if you're going to be having it rechecked, because by the time that the test paper is already going to be given back to you, you could already qualify again to
Oh.
retake the examination.
Yes.
So
Because it will
that
take some time.
Yes, thank you very much. So that wraps up our discussion. So for potential takers of IELTS and TOEFL, please be confident, please pray, and listen to your coaches. Thank you very much, Katropan Claire.
Thank you
for,
very much, Teacher Bobby and Teacher Jet.
for accepting our invitation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Katropan Jet, do you
Yeah.
think you will be taking the IELTS anytime soon?
Bahala na.
Leadership brings out the best in us. We become the best versions of ourselves, leading by example. A leader doesn't just strive to make a living, but aspires to make a difference. Destiny waits for no one, and the choice is yours to make. Don't wish. Become.
Pugay kamay na!
Ito ang DWWD 1134 kHz. Balita, impormasyon at musika. AM at FM pinagsama. Ito ang Katropa Radio. Iba tayo.
Kayo ay nakatutok sa 1134 kHz, DWDD, Katropa Radio, Iba Tayo. Kami po ay kasapi ng KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Ito ang DWDD 1134 kHz, Katropa Radio, Iba Tayo.
Okay, and we're back. But before we proceed to our next segment, we would just like to make this friendly announcement to our valued friends and followers. The AFP Museum joins the entire nations in celebrating the 121st Philippine Independence Day on June 12, 2019. In this connection, the museum will have an open house to the public with free admission from June 10 to June 12, 2019 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We join the Armed Forces of the Philippines in paying tribute to our valiant soldiers committed to secure the country from internal and external threats, promoting the heroism and sacrifices of the AFP personnel to attain just and lasting peace and encourage support for the government and the AFP in their advocacy of ending insurgency. Ayan, Katropang Jet.
So please everyone, tangkilikin natin yung AFP Museum. If you have the time, please come over and be proud that you're a Filipino. Siya nga pala may isang trivia akong share. Alam mo ba kung anong araw yung June 12, 1898 nung dineclare independence? No. Nabasa ko sa calendar. Sunday.
Okay.
Yes.
Sunday.
Yun lang po.
Okay, so we will now go to our next segment, which is University Extra Extra, which is hosted by our Mrs. Universe, Joy Castillo Pasides. Hello, Joy.
Hello, Katropang Bobby. To all our televiewers and then listeners, welcome po sa ating exciting at bagong segment, which is Holistic Wellness in School, Its Important and Benefits. And because po namamalat ako, pagpasensyahan niyo muna po yung aking boses. And I've been sick for the past days na. I have to forward and ask for the help of my Katropang Jet to introduce my lovely guest for today. Katropang Jet, please help me.
Yeah, no problem. Sure. Thank you, Katropang Joy. So our guest for today is a yoga practitioner and instructor who has been in the corporate world for over 18 years. So she used to be a language teacher abroad. Yes. She's also the operations and sales head of Yoga Plus Incorporated, a theta healer, and a resource person on holistic wellness. Mga katropa, let us all welcome Katropang Jamie Timbol.
Hi everyone, I'm really very happy to be here and welcome, especially to our teachers listening right now and to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, family and friends, and the yogi community.
Yes.
Okay, so Jamie, this is very, very interesting yung journey niya because she took up the same course in college. She's also a political science major. And then after that one, she joined the corporate world, went to multinational corporations, went to work for multinational corporations, and then eventually she found that calling to become a yoga teacher. Now, she's a dedicated yoga teacher and mother and trainer as well. Right, Jamie?
Yes, it has been a really interesting journey coming from corporate and then finding yoga as something that I'm really passionate to teach. And now I'm excited to be here because I wanted to share yoga more to the world.
But this afternoon, we will not only talk about yoga, but we will talk about holistic wellness. What is holistic wellness?
When you think about holistic wellness, it is just not a singular thing. It is a lifestyle, what you eat, what you think, your emotions, your type of movement every single day. And so it compasses everything that you do on a daily basis, which contribute to your overall health, longevity, and vitality. So it is not just the absence of disease, but also allowing for you to really have a good, healthy life and being able to do what you're meant to do in the world. So that's how I would define holistic wellness.
Okay, so what would you say are its importance and how will this benefit teachers and students?
Yes, as a teacher myself, I could say that for the most part, you know, teachers experience a lot of stress and being there for others, caring for others, and it's really constant, especially if they're mothers as well or if they're fathers. So it's a constant type of engagement. You're almost doing it 24/7 to the people around you, not just to the students in school, but everyone around you. You have typically a very caring, nurturing nature, and so first is you need to take care of yourself before you're able to take care of others. And so I'm here as well to share some chair yoga movements later that we could all do together, and they're very simple. So when they're feeling stressed, when they are checking papers or just about to go into the classroom, before that they could do the simple movements. So it's important that the carer need to care for themselves first, and in caring for themselves, then they could extend themselves more to care for others. So it's very important that it starts from them, and we'll do that a little bit later. And it could be little things like being conscious of your breathing, moving every day, and then also doing some mindfulness practices, and also being very aware of what you're eating and putting in your body.
Yes, I would like to ask about mindfulness.
Yes.
So how does one get to develop mindfulness even in the littlest of things.
Sure. So can I ask you a question for both of you? If you were to describe how you feel right now, using the terms used in a weather report, what would your weather report be? Katropang Bobby.
I feel that right now I wouldn't say that I'm feeling some chills. I'm feeling some tingling in my tummy right now. That's not exactly words which a weather report person would say. But yeah, I think that's something that I lack. But you know what? This is really very interesting. When we talk about mindfulness, it's actually making sure that you are mindful. You are in the present. You know what is within your surroundings as well as within you.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
because that's a common problem.
Katropang Jad, how do you feel right now if you were a weather report?
Right now,
Are you sunny, stormy,
no, I feel so.
cloudy?
I feel so hot. I feel humid. Yeah.
That's right, exactly. So that is a very simple practice of mindfulness, taking account of your internal weather and being able to be present and just feeling that. So it was good that you say, I feel this in my stomach right now. And when you say, I feel really hot right now, so that in itself is a mindful practice.
Even when you admit that you have some butterflies in your stomach.
Absolutely.
And even if you anticipate something terrible, which would turn out not to be terrible.
So the butterflies in the stomach are just an indication, an emotional reaction that your body's telling you of something that you're feeling inside. And so being in the present moment and say, I have butterflies in my stomach, in a way, robs you of, removes the form of anticipation you have of the future. So you don't have to be so obsessed about it because it puts you in the present moment. So I think we sometimes get really obsessed about what's going to happen in the future or worry about it, that we are not in our bodies and we don't feel how we're truly meant to feel right now.
I'm guilty of that.
So it's just a simple practice. As a teacher and as an educator, I think it's extremely important. And also when you think about the people who serve, absolutely even more, right? Because the stresses are so intense.
Well, Katropang Jet, we will get back to that question.
No problem.
A couple of questions afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go back to the question which I raised a while ago.
Yes.
You have already answered the question.
Yes.
Why it is important and beneficial for teachers. But
Yes.
how about for students?
For students, absolutely. So I was talking to one of my cousins over the weekend, and she said, Ate Jem, is there a yoga studio, here in Pampanga? I'm originally from Pampanga. And she said,
Here.
because...
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm from
awesome.
Labao.
Kabalen.
Yeah.
Because
And also Joy.
And
Ate
Joy as
Joy
well, yes.
from Sasmuan.
She's also Kabalen. So, and she said she's an incoming college student. She said, I'm so stressed, I'm about to take up accountancy, and I need an outlet where I'm not so stressed and I could really focus on myself. And that is a good way to do it, is do a movement practice, which is yoga, or do a mindfulness practice before you're studying, while you're studying, after you're studying, or whenever you're free. It is really good to have a movement practice as well.
I'm just reminded of one of the episodes of CSI before Katropang Jet, because in one of the episodes that they had this international school. It was not an international school, but this was a school for the gifted.
Yeah.
But the training was very, very strict. And so almost all of the students were really driven to excel. And in fact, they were already on the verge of, let's say, breaking down.
Yeah.
And I think the very reason why they had that episode was because one of the students was killed. One of the but of course this was CSI.
Yeah,
It was
fiction.
older fiction. But that's it mirrors the reality that if students are driven to the verge of a breakdown, they would really do something which is unacceptable and socially unacceptable.
Yeah.
They might even commit crimes.
Or suicide. Yeah, like in Japan, there's this system. It's called Juku. Students are required to review a lot, to the point of going home very late and getting tired, but they don't really care because they want to get into university. But there are some who fail, so others tend to drop out or even commit suicide due to parental and academic pressure.
I think in Japan, Korea, and China, that's really how education is.
Yeah.
It's quite competitive.
So stringent.
And so stringent. And there is also, I think, a quota system in which only this number of students can go to the university or so on. And I'm not very sure, but this is one of the things that I've heard. Another development, however, that I would like to share is that in the United States, however, there is a program. It depends upon the university, but what I remember, again, coming from some of the CSI episodes, is that if a roommate dies or dies in the middle of a semester, then the roommate is somehow given somewhat like a pass, will not be really required to take the final examination because the person is grieving. Somehow, it's not a remedy, but it's somewhat like something that the university gives to also relieve a student who's grieving of the stress and the feeling of losing somebody who's close to him or her.
But in the Philippine setting in college, some students tend to get depressed, so they drop out altogether sometimes, or even fail. So they have to take the exam. Oh, so there's a demo, Teacher Bobby.
Okay.
Bobby.
Before we go to the demo, however, let's proceed further to the other questions.
Yeah.
How would you define mindfulness? So we talked about holistic wellness, and we also mentioned mindfulness. But how would you define mindfulness?
Mindfulness, in the simplest of terms, is being aware at any given moment of what you're feeling at that very moment. It's that simple.
And how will that benefit the individual if you're mindful of your environment and what you're feeling?
Sure. So it is being present in a moment. In the Philippines, we know that the traffic could be quite is heavy in most parts of the Philippines.
Stressful.
Yes, stressful. And so before you get into that mode that you start being so angry, you could get into a mindful moment where you feel how you're feeling with your body when you're angry, and put a pause before you react, before you respond. So mindfulness allows you to respond more appropriately as opposed to just reacting because of that anger. So it puts a pause in between that empowers you, whether you still want to act the same way or act differently.
Is this example of practicing mindfulness? In my case, whenever I would drive to Pampanga with family, my mom would prod me to drive faster, a little faster, but I don't talk. I just go with the flow, and instead of going faster, I just maintain my speed, my momentum, so that nobody would get hurt. I wouldn't risk hitting other cars.
Exactly. So instead of being driven to a particular outcome, you're taking your time and being mindful of everything around you, and so that you could drive safely and the other drivers could be safe too.
Even if I don't talk?
Maybe what you can also do is to advise your mother that if she will continue with all of this, with all of these things that she's saying, she's telling you, you tell her that you're just stressing me out and you're also getting stressed.
She's very
and that's just going to be
overprotective.
raising your blood pressure, and that's also going to be very dangerous for your health. You can tell your mother that.
Why not? Oh, katropang Bobby, katropang Jamie. Excited now sa demo. I wanna.
Okay, so let's do it together. Can I invite you?
By the way, what are the methods, or what are the types of exercises or practices that you can recommend for teachers and students so that they will become more mindful and also to improve their well-being?
Sure. So first thing in the morning, if they could be mindful of their breathing, and just breathe for about 3 to 5 minutes. Just feel the breath in and out through the nose, and just feel that breath coming all over their body, so it centers them and it grounds them. They could also visualize how they want their day to go. Visualize the people, the things that they're going to do, and how they would like to be acting in those situations, what type of outcome they would like. And hopefully these outcomes are really very positive. And then express kindness to the world even before they go out. And that in itself is a really powerful practice. So as they go through their day, they are very centered and grounded, and no matter what's happening around them, they could keep that sense of mindfulness. And if for example, something stresses them out, then they could easily go back into those breaths and feeling their feet on the ground. And again, everything will turn back into how they had envisioned their day to be.
So to repeat, breathing,
visualization, centering and grounding.
Centering also. And then the other practices, like we have to be careful with what we eat, what we say, what we think, which we are going to be discussing in the future episodes that we will be having. But as of the moment, we're going to be joining
Sorry.
Jamie with
Yes.
some of the exercises that she will be demonstrating to us.
What I am going to demonstrate to you today is chair yoga. So it's very simple. If you are a teacher and all you have is your teacher's desk and your chair, you could do it. If you're a student, the same. Maybe before class or after the class or in between breaks, you could do this as well. So we start with head rolls. So just move your hands onto your palms. Let's take it, before we do the head rolls, let's take a few breaths. Take a deep breath in and deep breath out. Good. Deep breath in and deep breath out. One more. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Go ahead and roll your head over to the right. Good. And breathe while you're rolling the head. Let's do that 3 times. Very nice. And then go over to the left, just like that. Good. You already feel that you're releasing tension on either side of your neck. Look over to the left. Look over to the right. Look up and down. Good. Now you move your hands into the shoulders. Let's do some shoulder rolls. So we move the shoulders to the back and we make small circles with them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And towards the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go ahead and reach the arms all the way up into the ceiling. Good. Lengthening into the spine. Keep pressing your sitting bones down into the chair. Look into your hands. Inhale. As you exhale, move your arms out to the side. Good. Nice. Good. Inhale. And then exhale. One more. Inhale. And then exhale. Very nice. Go ahead and reach the arms all the way up. Palms together. Thumbs across. Keep your sitting bone pressing down into the ground. Lengthen. And then just stretch over to the right. Feel that nice side stretch over to the left side of your body. Lift the chin and chest up. Nice. Come back into center. Inhale. As you exhale, come over into the left side. Keep lifting the chin and the chest. Arms and ears are close together. And then come back into the center. Reach your arms behind you and try to see if you could hug the chair to the back, just like that. Good. Move the shoulders back. Good. Lifting the chest. Good. That releases a lot of tension in the upper back. Hold it here for 3, for 2, and then 1. Nice. Let's do a twist. So move the left hand into the right knee. Good. And then just move your right hand to the back of your chair. Nice. Let's do the other way. Move your right hand into the left knee. Apologies, I just made that the other way around here earlier. And look over to the left. And then come back into the center. Fantastic. How do you
That's
feel?
fantastic. I was just reminded of my practice.
Why?
Bikram yoga practice.
Oh.
The first few asanas, the poses, were similar to the Bikram. And then you
Yes.
have the you also have the half moon pose.
Yes, half
Okay.
moon. We did it on the chair.
Yes, half moon pose. It's
The
usually
back
supposed to be back bend, and you
Yes.
have to, and supposed to be your arm should be close to your ears.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I have difficulty doing that one because of the flabs that I have also.
Makakabanggaan
But
pa
you
eh.
know what? Even with those special exercises, they have really stretched our muscles,
Yes.
and it has made us a lot more relaxed.
How do you feel right now?
Very, very much better. In fact, that was the very reason why I kept on smiling.
Yes.
Because it felt a lot. It felt good, really good.
A little more energetic.
Yes. Awesome. That's great.
And relax, I guess, for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, thank you very
Yes.
much. We're hoping that you could still be with us in our part 2.
Yes.
And we will be discussing the other modes, the other, we would say, ways of practicing mindfulness
Yes.
and also holistic wellness. as
Fantastic.
well.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and I'll be giving you the chance to also promote.
Yes.
If there are any, like you wanted to say to our listeners
Yes.
today.
If you wanted to try a yoga practice, Yoga Plus is offering 7 days for free in any of our 4 studios, in Podium, in McKinley Hill, in BGC, and then also in our Makati studio. Please coordinate with Joy or our team here, and then they will route all of the questions or inquiries over to me. Thank you.
Okay. So I hope that our segment for today ended up like bringing wellness and mindfulness and relaxation to everyone, especially to our listeners, of course, for today.
Thank you.
Okay, so in behalf of Dr. Ray Samson, this is your host this afternoon, Bobby Ancheta.
Ramos,
Joy Castillo Pasiles.
And
And
we
these
are
the
the voice of the teachers.
Ito ang DWD 1134 kHz. Balita, impormasyon at musika. AM at FM pinagsama. Ito ang Katropa Radio. Iba tayo.
Kayo ay nakatutok sa 1134 kHz. DWD Katropa Radio. Iba tayo. Kami po ay kasapi ng KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.